Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I was reading the comments and I almost made myself late. Lots of buddies on this morning. Let's see who's here. Good morning. Welcome back. I'm Deanna at Ribbon Candy Hooking. I always forget to say that. Good morning, Amber. It's snowy in Alberta, huh? Oh, it's getting to be that time. Good morning, Jess. I hope everyone's doing well. Dawn is in a different part of Alberta and it's just foggy in the south. Hey, Mom in Granby. It is a weird cloudy day in Connecticut, but it's a little bit mild. The dog has his coat on. It's dog in a coat days, so it's at least that chilly. Good morning, Linda B. in New Jersey, and Crystal in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Good morning, Jennifer. Oh, good. Oh, good for you, Jennifer. It's good to play hooky once in a while, right? These are such crazy times. You got to get some balance going. Happy that you're there. Let's see. Catherine, you're there from Arizona, and Elaine is there from Texas. More Molly fun today, Elaine. I know you love it too. Good morning, Lori in Fort Worth, Texas. And Wendy is there from Paulsbo, Washington. I haven't done that one before. It's probably rolls better than I just rolled. And good morning. Oh gosh, I got this wrong yesterday. Was it Maureen? The letters always mess me up. Good morning. The dog is in the trash. That was not a metaphor. He's actually in the trash. Good morning, Linda in Massachusetts. Karen in Kentucky. Good morning, Chrissy. Your squirrel looks so good, and I love the light fluffy tail. I love that there's a good story there. Well, good to see everybody. It's been a busy day. It's been busy times, lots going on. Before I forget, I just wanted to, good morning, Carol. There you are. I'm so happy you can write now. It's nice. It's nice to know you're there, although I always know you're there, even when you're locked out of YouTube, just typical frustration things, right? Before I forget, I can see I'm surrounded by wool. I've been working on these. I put them here to remind us. I've been working because I know a lot of people were asking for the sweater wool. So I made a lot of sweater kits. I blew through a lot of bags. I found another very nice lady who had tons and tons and tons of sweaters. And so I bought tons of sweaters from her. And I've been cutting up for the last day here and there charm squares. It's easy to cut them into this shape because, I don't even know how big they are. I left my ruler over there too. Gosh, I'm going to have to check. It's weird to put it against my head. They're not small, but they're not enormous. I'll have to get my ruler and see. Can you see if the ruler's? Yeah. All right. Measuring tape just as good. How could I not know? I was using a quilting template. That's how I don't know. It looks like they are 6x6 squares. So I was cutting the sweaters up in here because, of course, when you get pieces like arms, irregular pieces where you have to cut the ribbing off or the placket off or something like that. It's just no good. It creates an odd shape. And I didn't want to be selling sweater wool. It's all 100% wool by the pound or ounce because I find that very confusing. I know that people do, but I find it super confusing because I just don't know how far it's going to go and I can't measure in my head how much I need. So I wanted to put it into square inches, yards kind of thing that you can imagine and measure. So with these being 6x6, I just have to say there's it's a dreary day here, but there's many colors in all. There's yellows and pinks and reds and fuchsias and blues and sky blues and turquoise and greens and squash colors, pumpkin colors, periwinkle. There's some darks too, because of course with your hit and miss stuff, oh no, you're seeing pixelation. Can you go upstairs and make sure the kids have their phones off?
Yeah, I'm filling up now.
Oh dear, not again. I'm not surprised because it is a cloudy day, and although we're right outside Yale in a very metropolitan area, we get bad service. We get bad service here. So let me know if it gets any better. Clear picture for Karen. Just get the kids off their phones for now.
Yeah, just did.
Okay.
Maybe restart the browser if that can.
How bad is it? It's okay for some people. Okay, it's going to be a mostly talking day anyway. We'll see how it goes later in the video. Okay, I'll press on. So anyway, with these blocks, I'm going to be listing them as soon as I'm done with this on ribboncandyhooking.com. These are the sweater blocks. Just know if you're waiting for sweater blocks, it's taken me an extra 2 weeks to cut them. I'm sorry about that. But I have a bunch of blocks ready. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 8 lots ready. So I'm going to be listing them on Ribbon Candy Hooking in a minute. And I just know that the typical rule when you're hooking with wool is you get about a quarter of, you cover about a quarter of the space as the piece is big. But with sweater wool, you get a little bit more because it's stretchy. So you're able to pull it a little bit more. So probably you get more like 1/3 than 1/4 the size. So if you picture 1/3 of each of this, that's how much surface you'll get done with each square. So these are quite big. And they're going to be great if you're doing like hit or miss stuff and you just need background stuff or you just need some extra colors. You're doing quilt patterns, something like that in sweater material. So those are finally available. You know what else happened yesterday that I thought was interesting? I don't know if anybody else noticed, but on one of the videos, I guess it was when I was starting the Edward Sands Frost style stenciling classes, I must have done a video on it because there's one up on YouTube. No recollection of that. But somebody wrote on that post and said, thank you for featuring my granddad and keeping his memory up and alive. And it was his great, great, great granddaughter, maybe one more great. But I thought that was interesting that, she's on the internet. She's looking for her great, 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 great granddad's name and it's there and we're keeping it alive. I thought that was a really nice thing. So anyway, I got the business stuff done. You're seeing me clearly. Okay, let's press on. So we were talking about Molly Nye Tobey. She's my favorite. And I made a little more progress yesterday. I found a few more sources yesterday. And I remembered this book, which I forgot to mention yesterday. This is a really big book that I've had for a while. I just saw it in an antique store the other day. It must have been the one, Karen. It must have been the one in Stratford. But it's called Handcrafts of New England by Alan Eaton. It's not an expensive book, but it is like a bit of an encyclopedia of people back in the day who did crafts. Let me see if I can get a year for you. Ooh, it's in Roman numerals. So that's going to be, I think it's 40, I think it's 45 or 47. But it goes chapter by chapter. Every craft that you can think about, they're showing photographs of people doing the craft from New England states. Really niche-y crafts too. Really like basket making. I mean, that's a big one. But there's ones that like are barely you even hear of, and they're well documented. The people at this time who in their New England state, one of the 6, was doing the craft. So luckily, Molly Nye Tobey's in here. Otherwise, I would have had a conniption. So she's in the handmade rugs and carpets chapter, and they just have a little bit. Hey, Donna. Hey, Joelle. Hey, Katie. Oh, good. We're seeing things clear. Hopefully it gets better for some people. I know it's me and not you. Sounded funny. So there's not a chapter, but there's an entry on her. No photographs in this book because this is like an index, but it is a great research book and it's full of rabbit holes. So this is going to be like my encyclopedia for finding rabbit holes when I run out of ideas, which probably will never happen. So it says Mrs. Molly Nye Tobey of Barrington near Providence is known as one of the most original designers and makers of hooked rugs in our country. All of her rugs are individual and are modern in spirit and execution. Now, this is the first time we've talked about this, and I'm going to come back to this because this is like the big turning point for Molly. The design of the Victory rug, which was shown at the Worcester exhibition, was inspired by the Tobey family garden. It won first prize in the Women's Day National Hooked Rug Competition of 1942. The rug is shown in the front piece. So it goes on a little bit. So this, it's fair to say, that I'm probably right with the year because she started her state rugs in 1943 and they're not mentioning them yet. So it's probably 43. Wish I could read Roman numerals that fast. At Worcester, she was also represented by The Farm, a rug in which a few excellent colors were combined with barnyard motifs. The texture of these rugs is fairly coarse yet firm and in keeping with the rural subjects which she prefers. And then it goes on to talk about one other woman in a little less detail in Rhode Island who I don't know yet. So that's another rabbit hole. But this is just an index. If you're in New England and you like doing research on different people from back in the day, this is the book. This is like the Bible of early 20th century artisans. I also wrote to the woman who had the eBay auction up where I got the Molly Nye Tobey 50 States poster, and I haven't framed it yet, so I'm not going to show it until it's framed because I'm worried I'm going to damage it, because there's a finite amount of them out there. And she's, hello, Anne from Portugal. She's got a few more on there. So I wrote to her and I said, odd that I didn't say this part, odd that you would have multiples of like the Molly and I Tobey poster. Do you have anything else on her that I might buy? And she said no, but I got chatting with her online, and it turned out that she is the woman who bought red clover rugs from Amy Oxford like 25 years ago. Isn't that interesting? So if you end up going on eBay and looking at that poster of the Molly and I Tobey rugs, she's only got a few more in stock. And I think that's it. Like, I honestly think that's it. I found an auction listing last night of that poster having sold for $150 at like a live auction, because they're rare. So if you think you like Molly and you want the State Rug poster, I would get it, because once these are gone, I wouldn't be surprised if we just literally don't see them again. Finite amount. They're not printing them, and they haven't for years and years. So anyway, I got talking to her, and she said, well, do you have this book by Jesse Turbane? And I did. And I had bought it off eBay ages ago, and I hadn't browsed through it. And, oh, good, Elaine. And the reason I hadn't browsed through it is because I got it on eBay, and it reeks of smoke. And that always makes me feel depressed. So I haven't looked at it, and lo and behold, there was like a whole feature on Molly and I Tobey. So I'm going to dig into that right now before we look at the Rug Hooking magazine that I took out yesterday. We'll look at that too. But this was totally chock full. And my project of last night, in anticipation of doing a little bit of rug-a-palooza, like a little bit of a guessing game of which rug is which state, I was at Staples, like formatting, printing, making Word documents to print out all these state things. And it turns out all of the state rugs are in this book. I'll put a link to this book. So just give me 2 minutes after this broadcast, and I'll put a link to this book on this video. So, and it'll also be on the Facebook page. So this talks a little bit about her life. Buttons is starting up. And we started a little bit yesterday, so I'm going to start in a bit further. It talks about her years. Remember, she was originally from New Bedford, and then she moved to Barrington, Rhode Island. In her New Bedford years, this is a quote. She said, I reached high school, and I was fortunate in having a very fine instructor in, now get this, do you know anybody who studies these things in high school anymore? Fine instructor in stenciling, metal enameling, and weaving. That wasn't a glitch. That was me like making the point. Kids don't even know what these things are anymore, never mind learning them in high school. My teacher at high school was a dear old friend of, drumroll please, Helen Albee. Remember the Native American rugs? Who started the Abenaki rug industry in New Hampshire. And so in 1907, I started with Helen Albee using her frame, hook, and woolen materials. My first 2 rugs had large plain centers and geometric borders. Very uninteresting. 4, I was copying to a certain degree what Helen Albee was creating with her Indian motifs. Everyone thought they were quite wonderful. The first ones made around this area in many years, and the colors were harmonious, nothing objectionable, but how I myself disliked them. And from that day onward, I determined to do something original. So this is so interesting because remember the friend I've been emailing with who's in Barrington, Rhode Island, Julia, she mentioned this, that Molly had taken up, remember her 2 grandmothers, one of them hooked and one of them did felt applique. Julia mentioned that, Molly had very, very early on experimented with rug hooking, but she really didn't like it. And she was producing rugs that everybody was praising to high heaven, but she herself hated the rugs. And Julia mentioned that she'd said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing designs I don't like anymore. It's just too much time and thought going into something I'm not enjoying. And she just declared that from that day on, she would not do it. And here it is in writing, which is really interesting because she stuck to it and she meant it. She did not do anything traditional after these. And the Helen Albee designs are not that traditional. Not that we've seen many because that book had 0, but I pulled a couple up online and we looked at them together. They were very geometric, but what she's describing as an open center with scrolls, that's more sort of Sans Frost, Ebenezer Ross. It's more that kind of old-timey thing. But isn't it interesting that we've already talked so much about Helen Albee, and now we have crossover with Molly Nye Tobey? So that means that we are on track as scholars, learning, filling in gaps, connecting people. This is what needs to be in place for rug hooking, is a proper timeline or family tree with all of the people connected. And this proves that we're getting there. So she says, upon completion of high school, oh no, this is Jessie. Upon completion of high school, the young artist attended the Rhode Island School of Design, which is called RISD, in 1915. Her original intent was to become a landscape painter, but it soon became apparent that her strongest talents were in the field of design. After promising not to converse with the other male students, Miss Gammons, and that was her maiden name, was admitted to the all-male New Bedford Textile School. She became the first woman graduate in 1917, taking her diploma in the capabilities of a commercial designer, which is unique at this point, unique. Shortly thereafter, she was hired, and we talked about this yesterday, as the chief textile designer at New Bedford's Manville Mills, which she really, really disliked. And the position, though, and this we didn't learn yesterday, required her to take monthly trips to the company's main office in New York City. And these were excursions that she often made in a new Model T Ford. Isn't that exciting? I mean, just picturing that is so exciting. Her career at the mill was short-lived. We know she said, I told you this quote yesterday, gave her no satisfaction doing commercial patterns over and over. It was nothing creative. So we'll skip forward. While she was pursuing rug hooking interests, she taught art classes at a local academy and produced and sold a lot of artwork, and managed an antique store on Cape Cod, which from Barrington is about an hour and 15 minutes away. But I knew she was an antique dealer, and I wondered where in Barrington, since I'm from Barrington. It turns out it wasn't Barrington. Her antique store was on Cape Cod. That's also interesting because I graduated from high school on Cape Cod. And also crossing over with her, I did go to RISD for 1 year when we lived on Cape Cod. I commuted to RISD to take a class. I was studying children's book illustration then. And the only reason I stopped, and this is the story of my life, is a horrible sideline. The kids in the class, this is not going to sound nice, but were very weird. And I guess that goes without being said with art stuff, but I mean, quite weird. And I guess I couldn't handle it because I'm pretty traditional. And the deal breaker was driving this one guy home one night, dropping him off at his place. And I was asking him in the car as I was driving how he got this beautiful red color for his ink. And it was like extraordinary. It was an extraordinary red that I had never seen before. And I was working a lot in pen and ink. And he told me while we were at an intersection that he got it from doves. It was dove's blood. And I just put the car in park and said, get out of the car, get out, get out. And I'm not sure that I even went back after that, because in my head that was I might be in the wrong circles here. Rug hooking much better. But I think when Molly went, it was a bit more traditional. Art school's gone crazy since then. Anyway, so she's got her antique store going on Cape Cod. I wonder what that guy's doing now. That's a scary thought, right? She's got her antique store going on Cape Cod. And let's see what else she's doing. Oh, she marries her high school sweetheart, Warren Price Tobey, right? Because she becomes a Tobey here. And yep, they'd taken a break, I guess, and they got back together. And I told you yesterday from Julia, it just says simply the couple built their first house, and Molly had a lot to do with she planned the house and the gardens. But remember, she called it her illegitimate house because they built it before they were married. I thought that was cute. So she begins teaching, and this brings up a lot of questions because I've written to the little roadie thrummers. I've written to hookers that I know in Rhode Island. For the amount of work that Molly did, there's not a ton of it out there. It's got to be in people's houses. I hope it's in people's houses. But as prolific as she was, and I'll show you a picture in a minute, there's not a ton. It's not like tons and tons. It's a good, it's a goodly amount that we can look at, but it's not as much as one would expect for someone who worked in rug hooking for 50, 60 years and painting even longer. So anyway, in 1942, during World War II, after more than 30 years of hooking, in 1942, she'd been hooking for more than 30 years. This is before the rug project. She entered the National Needlepoint. Now we're getting to the victory rug time. The National Needlepoint competition held in New York City's Madison Square Garden. Now, again, just think about this. There exists a National Needlepoint competition, and it climaxes at Madison Square Garden. Can you imagine nowadays, like that Madison Square Garden would reserve 1 hour of its existence for a needlepoint competition? It's like how times have changed and not for the better. Her rug, inspired by the family's victory garden, was awarded the grand prize. She also received a week-long, this is important, invitation to be a guest on the Mary Margaret McBride radio talk show. And McBride was a very popular host at the time, kind of like a Martha Stewart of the time. We're going to come back to her in a minute because that's important. That this is what's going to lead her to the state rugs. So just hold this thought. After she does the victory rug and wins first prize, grand prize, $700, she's going to design a rug for Mrs. McBride, the talk show host, and for her state, which I think is Minnesota. And then she's going to, Molly, get the idea to do all 50 states. There's only 48 states then, but during the time she's working on them, 2 more states join or are brought into the officially United States, and she does 2 more rugs. And she will say at a certain point when she's finishing up the rugs, I don't care how many more states become part of the United States, I'm not doing any more rugs. Because it was a long time she was working on her rugs and a lot of energy. So we're going to come back to the rugs, and I'm going to show you the Victory Garden rug, but I just want to finish her biography. When the state rugs were exhibited at the Providence Art Club, a local Rhode Island television station promised to broadcast a pre-recorded interview with Mrs. Tobey. Minutes prior to the show's end, the announcer broke for a commercial message, but invited the audience to stay tuned for a segment coming up with Rhode Island's oldest hooker. He said that. And at the time she was 83, and apparently she was hysterical. She absolutely loved it. So it was a bit of a faux pas and a mistake to say that out loud the way that he did, but she loved it. And it was a story that she would tell over and over because she thought it was hilarious that that was said live. In later years, Mrs. Tobey was a familiar sight in the Barrington community, pedaling a bicycle about town, carrying samples of her latest handiwork. I'll show you a photo of that very thing in a minute. Let me show you some of the photos here. Because there's a lot in this book. This is her as a young woman, 1920s. That's soon after she got married. It's not in super focus, but I'm holding it as still as I can. In a smock in her house. And this is her, again, around the same time at some kind of a stall. And it's showing her house was on the corner of Rumstick that they built. So it's showing her sort of location. And if you can see in this photo, how many rugs are in the background of this photo, it just goes to show you at this point, she was quite young. She had already hooked a ton. It's possible that some of the rugs in the background are her grandmother's rugs, but that's extraordinary. And draped across her rug hooking frame is one of the many rug-sized rugs that she did. Also the one on the floor. I mean, she did massive rugs. The state rugs were also massive. I've got to drive back there and see if I can see her house, assuming the road's not closed. So, and then there's a couple other great things here. So this is her, this is another Barrington rug, and this is the white church. So this is like such a special one for me. I've never even seen this one outside of this photograph because we lived like diagonally up the road from the white church. And the white church was opposite the high school that I went to for the first 2 years before we moved away. And that was the end of Barrington for me for now. Maybe I'll get back someday. But this white church is like central. It's a congregational church, central to the town. That's where they had all the strawberry festivals. That's where they had tons of church bazaars and events. And it was just super charming. It had its back on the water and a little bridge behind it. And it was super, super, super charming. And then she's got this one of the Barrington Yacht Club, 1941, that I think she did for a friend, it says. The pretty hearts and anchor motif. Another like great personal one for me because we had a lot of parties and stuff in there growing up. Barrington's a very wealthy town. I don't know that it always was. It was never a not wealthy town, but it's become a very elite town over the years. But in these days, the yacht club is obviously for people with sailboats, who was in my time, pretty much everybody in town except us. And that was why my dad always used to threaten us that we had a rowboat, that he was going to join the yacht club with the rowboat and just would send me upstairs crying with panic that he might actually do that and humiliate me, which he never did. It was a joke, but it was a scary one. So that's our little yacht club in Barrington. And then it's going to look at the victory rug, but I can show you I'll just show you it here. This is the Woman's Day magazine showing the victory rug, right? It's massive. I can show you a better photo of that too. But This is the one that won the grand prize. And I just ordered yesterday this copy of Women's Day, August 1943, Women's Day magazine. So it has a bunch of the winning rugs, but that one being the one. And then it starts on the state rugs, which I'm not going to show you, not yet anyway. I don't think we're going to finish the subject today. Many pages of state rugs here, so to be continued. This is a good book to get if you're interested in the state rugs. And then at the end of her thing, it's showing the picture I showed you yesterday of her hooking much later on. And then these were her hooks. She preferred the slightly bent hooks, which I thought was interesting. And what else have we got? Her runners, like a hit or miss up the stairs, and then one of her boats at the foot of the stairs. And look at her beautiful house. She's got stuff on the walls. She's got large rugs on the floors. Absolutely beautiful. And then let's look at one more. Oh, there's even more. See, there's a lot in here. The Jessie Turbane book is really strong on Molly. So let's look at a few more. I don't want to accidentally show you the state ones. These are sort of some geometrics, the concentric circles, and then she's got the lollipops, nice cornucopia. You know, it's traditional, but it's not traditional. And then she's got a welcome mat here that she made for a friend. Yeah, I know, right, Elaine? Her rugs are like massively massive. But you know, the one that I saw, the two that I saw, the one that I saw in Maine was not. It was like a welcome mat size. And so is the boat that I saw at the Preservation Society. Others are massive, like this one's 63 by 28. That's not massive, massive. Schooner, ship, whale, brig. And then she did a lot of geometrics. Remember, she's a real modernist. This is a close-up of this one. She's a proper modernist, really doing her own thing, really early. And here she is later on in life. This is her pedaling around Barrington with the samples of her new rugs on her bike, ready to show off. I mean, super prolific. And then her, even a few years later, in her home with her rugs. But I think so beautiful. What a beautiful life she had. So let's look real quick at, I don't think we're going to have time. What is the name of that book? Yeah, you do need to get one, Penny. You definitely do. Hooked Rug Treasury by Jessie Turbane. Schiffer book, right? Schiffer is my favorite. Rug hooking. So this is now, I'm switching real quick to the rug hooking magazine. We're going to bleed over into tomorrow again, I'm afraid. But that's okay, right? And I have another great idea. So rug hooking, September, October 2005 has the article on Molly and I Tobey's state rug. So let's just look quickly at what they're going to tell us in here. I fold down every other page, which is not good. So this is a grow your own vegetables rug. This is another one of her rugs. This is not we saw the Victory rug in the other book. This is either an excerpt from it or it's a second one. I think it's an excerpt because the Victory rug is enormous. So this article is by Corey Rogers in Rug Hooking Magazine. This is a beautiful article. She talks about how, while Molly was coming up with the idea of this each state rug, how she got the ideas, how she planned these rugs, because these are 50 different designs she's got to come up with. And she gives herself this project. You know, she's super ambitious in terms of work. So drawing her inspiration from a variety of sources, the rugs reflect both the physical and cultural identities of the states. Molly selected every aspect and every detail of the state rugs to sort of portray the character, the beauty of the landscape, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to come back to that. It's going to go back to history for just a minute. Born in 1893, we know that her grandmothers hooked the rugs. We know Helen Albee connection. We talked about that and the Indian motifs. Graduated from RISD, New Bedford Textile. Marries in 1925. Marries her childhood sweetheart, Warren Price Tobey. They start a family a year later. Joshua, Jonathan, and Joel, their 3 boys. Over the course of the next 6 decades, Molly and I Tobey balanced her family life as wife, mother, grandmother with her professional career, which included antique stealer, hooked rug instructor, author, lecturer, entrepreneur, starting her own rug hooking village industry in 1929. So I want to show you, we're definitely going to leak over into tomorrow. Let's pick it up tomorrow, and we'll do some Rug-a-palooza tomorrow. Where I'll hold up a picture of the rug and then you have to guess what the rug, which state the rug is representing. So we'll pick up here tomorrow in Rug Hooking Magazine, where she talks about, and these rugs are not included in our game, where she talks about the design of specific rugs like Missouri. So this is the one she made for Mrs. What's her name? Price, was it Price, the radio show host? This is the rug she made for her. So that's the one that started it. So in this article, there's a few interesting things about why the rug has the elements of design that it does and what they mean. So this is a big thing. understanding and decoding the rug is a big thing in terms of like why the design looks the way it does, because they're each so special. So let's start there tomorrow. And I also wanted to tell you, I had this idea that, not this Friday for cocktail night, not this coming Friday, the following Friday is going to have been a month since we did our last bingo night. So not this coming Friday, the following Friday will be our next bingo night, since we're doing it once a month. And, I was thinking, why not? Because I don't want to use the same cards every single time we play bingo, or the calls are going to be super boring. So what I'm going to do for the next bingo night, a week from Friday, is Molly and Tobey State Rugs Bingo. Because I put in last time about 45 different squares. I'll put 50. I'll mix up the cards again. So we're looking at, the blocks will be like excerpts from State Rugs. And then you can see the State Rugs up close, a little bit closer. I'll do crops when they're like circles and stuff. And then when I make the call, I can do some commentary from Molly herself about like what was in her notes when she designed that rug and what the symbolism in the rug means. I think that would be really fun, because then it'll be exciting to know for people who are from abroad, hopefully still exciting, but for people in the US, it'll be exciting when if your state gets called, to hear why she designed those things in your rug for your state to represent the whole state. So I thought that could be interesting, because it's like the right number, and I want to do something different. And, we'll try to do different themes every time we play bingo, but I thought that would be completely different. So anyway, have a great, what happened to the State Rugs? Oh, Elaine, the three sons, Joel, what did I just say? I already forgot. Joel, Joshua, is it Jonathan? Donated them. The three sons donated them to the Shelburne Museum, and they have all 50 of them there. I don't know if they're currently on display. I'm not even clear whether the Shelburne is completely open right now. I sent them a message yesterday, so hopefully I hear back, but they're all there. So they are all safe and intact. It's her other rugs that I'm worried about finding. But yeah, they're all there. So road trip. I know Texas is a long way, but road trip. All right. So, all right. Well, hey, I will see you all tomorrow. We'll pick up with the State Rugs, and then we'll probably transition to something new. And and we'll look forward to bingo, not this Friday, but the following Friday. I think that's a really good solution to making up a new bingo card. So in the meantime, have a great day, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Look for the link for the Jesse Turbain book. I'll post it in 2 minutes as soon as we're off. Have a great day. Thanks, Mom. Love you. Love you all. Talk to you soon.